about today. So give me just a second to do that. In case you didn't know, we replay all of these webinars on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel. Um, as soon as it posts here, I'll tell you exactly what it is. I just might get loud here for a second. Let's see. Da, 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 and go. Okay, perfect. So if you go to our Barton webinar YouTube channel, you will see, oh man, 300 some webinars that we have done, primarily talking about type 2 diabetes, talking about heart health, and then other random, really cool health topics. And so be sure if you have free time, you can go get a really good education by watching some of these past webinars. They are phenomenal. Dr. Saunders has done all of these. You've asked questions. And if you weren't able to join these webinars, you can listen to the questions that other people have asked. Great way to get an education in natural health. And I'm going to actually start this webinar off really strange because we have a topic, but I'm going to ask Dr. Saunders something else. First, three things. I have three things I thought of that I want to chat about. First of all, kind of excited about the announcement from Mr. Zuckerberg talking about how they're going to limit some of these checking things that are going to happen on Facebook now. And so hopefully we're going to be able to see some more people speak out about some things, which can be a dangerous place also, right? But for someone in our world or where Dr. Saunders may want to share some things that traditionally he's not been allowed to talk about, there may be more opportunity for that, which I'm really excited about. I'm hoping that it's true. We'll see, right? Okay, so that's kind of exciting. But that also leads me to this next question. I know that we haven't talked about this before, but there are a lot of people that use homeopathy type things or homeopathic kits, let's say, where you get like arnica and all those different types of things. I had just seen that there are some of those popular brands are on sale right now. We've never talked about that. And so I'm curious, do you use any of that kind of stuff, Dr. Saunders? Actually, I think I know the answer. And do you have any brands or anything that you recommend?
Ah, darn. I have used them. My wife uses them. I have a lot of friends that use them.
Yeah.
I don't use them regularly. I've used what oxylococcinium, the
Yes.
for colds and flus and stuff. But I've had a lot of patients come in and say, "Oh yeah, I have this homeopathic remedy. It works really well." Okay, well, um, it's a weird thing, and I'm not usually like this, but it's not in my realm of what I do as
Yeah.
far as like diagnosis and metabolism and stuff like that. It's in a different place, and I know a little bit about it, but it's hard for me to grasp what it is because like let's say you take something that causes nausea. It's like something horrible that causes nausea. So an herb, for example, and you make an extract of that, and then you dilute it one time, two times, and one time means you take like 1/10 of it and put it in 10 times as much water. So then you're diluting it, then you're diluting it again, then you're diluting it again, then you're diluting it again. And the more times you dilute it, the stronger it gets. It's the opposite of the way I was taught in medical school. And there's something more to it than just the chemicals interacting. It's not a chemical interaction. And I've seen these kinds of things where that guy, I don't remember his name, a researcher in Japan that talks to water. And the water will make a different type of crystal when it's frozen, depending on how it's talked to. If you're mean to it and you're hateful or whatever, it makes a different crystal, like a disorganized crystal. And if you're super loving to the water, then it makes a beautiful crystal. I don't know, just it's kind of funny. Funny. This is all microscopic, looking. So there are things in our world that do not fit the physics. They don't fit the chemistry. And so we assume that you go to a university and you take physics classes, and this PhD guy knows all about physics. He has a doctorate degree in physics, knows everything about it. And there's like, it's like, we know this much and there's this much to know, and we know this much.
Yeah.
And so, but what is all this other stuff that we don't know? They call it metaphysical. Meta means the big picture, the all put together. Physical, so it's the physics, it's the physical world, but it's the metaphysical world, and that is outside of the specific hardcore things that we know that we can touch and feel and watch and do a chemistry experiment on and all that. I don't know, but you know what? Let's put it this way. I've had a lot of people say it works and relieves symptoms, and I've noted it myself. So I don't know.
I was thinking about that today. So the fun part of our Barton team is that we often get to travel together with our families. So I know Dr. Saunders' wife, I know his kids. I remember one time, I think my son had gotten sick. This was several years ago, and your wife had a little travel homeopathy kit with, and she had some stuff for him to use, and it worked. Don't remember what it was, but I was thinking about that today. And so, anyway, it's just another area of things that are very interesting to me. And I love that there are options out there. I think for so long we grew up and it was okay, you go to a medical doctor when you're sick. Well, yes, Dr. Saunders is a medical doctor, but that's not the only, medicine isn't the only solution for everything,
Yeah.
you know? So it's just fun to remember that. Anyway, that was my random question for the day. I'm going to just apologize right now. My camera's not working, so I'm using my laptop camera that looks like it's from the early 1900s. I don't know why. It's terrible, but it's very strange. But anyway, it'll be fixed. I'm just going to get a different computer because I'm sick of messing with it. But anyway, here we go. Today, we're going to talk about castor oil. I am really excited about this topic. So ask your questions. If you have questions about castor oil, put it in the Q&A. That's the best place for us to manage those questions. We'll dig into as much of it as we can. I know Cheryl, who normally is on this webinar, she would have been great to ask some questions too as well, because I know that she uses it. And so we're going to dig into this. We want to hear from you guys as well. So before we get started, I'm just going to remind you that while Dr. Saunders is a wonderful doctor, he is not your doctor. And so the things that we may recommend today, we ask that you talk with your healthcare provider about before you implement them. Okay. So lots of people hopping on. You can say hi in the chat. And then again, ask those questions over in the Q&A. Okay. Castor oil. Okay. So what really is castor oil? Do you know, like, where does it come from?
Okay. This is actually a really interesting, it's so amazing. So there is a bean, as a plant called a castor plant, and a castor, a bean. And have you ever had the little wheels on a cart? They call them castors. And they used to have this oil, this kind of sticky oil that they would put on the castors to push them around. And it's different than the grease that was used in the big machinery that they were making in the 1800s, in the Industrial Revolution. And so they would use this oil for little things like these little castors. And so that's where the word castor came from. That's the type of thing. It was used, this castor oil. And so that there is a connection there between them. So there's a bean that's produced by this castor plant, and this bean is super toxic. It is one of the most toxic substances known to man. And if you were to inject a little bit of the castor bean extract under your skin, you would die. And there's no remedy. There's no remedy for it. And you go, oh no, I got this castor bean extract under my skin. I better go to the hospital. Nothing we can do. You're either going to die, you're not going to die, and you're probably going to die. There was a famous case of somebody, oh man, it was in the 1900s, the spy versus spy kind of thing in England, where somebody had um, an umbrella, and with the tip of the umbrella, you know how they have this like sharp tip of the umbrella on the ones from England. Well, it actually had like a little needle in it, and somebody got poked with an umbrella. And apparently, they had it's called ricin, the stuff from the castor bean, and they found out what it is. They couldn't save him; he died. The spy. Anyway, it was an assassination of somebody with this ricin castor bean plant. So you think, wow, something so toxic, then the oil from it, man, you would stay away from that, right? You don't want any of that. The oil has no ricin in it. It's perfectly fine. You can drink it, you can take it, it doesn't matter. And in fact, it's actually pretty good for you. There's a type of oil, a fatty acid in it, called rhizolein. And this particular one, it's the only place you can find it, and it's anti-inflammatory for some reason. And so, in the early 1900s, there was a healer named Edgar Casey, and he was somebody that had what do you call it? Um, he was he was like a faith healer, and he just had a huge following, and a lot of people would come to see him. And if you look at, there's like this whole book on the things, his recommendations to people. And castor oil was very common, very common. He recommended castor oil packs, very commonly for a lot of different problems, for knee pain, for arthritis, for women with really bad menstrual cycles, for just like all kinds of things that he recommended this castor oil for. Well, it turns out that it's anti-inflammatory. It's absorbed, the rhizolein is absorbed through the skin, and it goes into the lymph system, and it's anti-inflammatory. And so it relieves inflammation even locally. So if you can put a pack on your elbow, and your elbow has a bursitis, for example, and it'll make the bursitis go down. And so wherever you have inflammation, castor oil seems to work really well. So I've had people use it recently. Someone was telling me they were using it on their eyelids because they had some eyelid blepharitis, it's called. And the doctor recommended some eye drops, and she says, I don't want to put those steroid eye drops in my eyes because, they can cause cataracts and corneal problems. So she didn't want to use that. So she just put the castor oil on the eyelid, on the top of the eyelid, not in the eye. Not that it's a problem, if you get it in your eye, it's not toxic or anything like the ricin. And it worked really well. It relieved that inflammation of the eyelid, the blepharitis. It can be used for a lot of different things. People get what's it called, the cysts, under pilonidal cysts in their back, and then other cysts like under their armpits, and you can put castor oil packs on that, and it'll make that go down. Acne, it's been used for acne. So any inflammatory type condition, you might try, what's it called? Castor oil, right? Interesting. So somebody told me about castor oil. If you mix it with, baking soda. So like a little bit of castor oil with baking soda, and then you could put it on a lesion on your skin, like cancer, like skin cancer, that'll make the skin cancer go away. It's supposed to work, but I didn't find it worked. I'm treating some skin cancer right here, so I tried it on the cancer, and it didn't work for the cancer with the baking soda in it. So I'm I'm not sure if it works for everything, but I've had people tell me it works great for inflammatory things. And so, I'm actually treating this now with something else. It's called Curaderm. So there's options for treating basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma. Curaderm is 100% curative, but you have to keep tape over it, and you have to keep it covered, and you have to keep it on there. Change it out every day for like 2 weeks till it heals up. There's other ways. You can use 5-fluorouracil cream from the dermatologist that is a chemotherapy agent that kills all the growing cells, and it can burn the skin. This stuff doesn't burn the skin at all. It won't touch the normal cells. It'll only kill the cells that are cancerous. Anyway, that's just really interesting about castor oil.
And it's really trendy right now. I know a lot of, especially young ladies, are using it on their lashes to get them to grow. They'll also use them on their eyebrows. There's a laminated eyebrow look that's trendy where you kind of use castor oil to plaster them down, basically, and then they want the lashes to grow. And so I know that a lot of people are doing that. And it seems very trendy right now. We have all of these. Luckily, we have access to Instagram and Facebook and social media. And so we can see these videos by like Barbara O'Neill, who talks about castor oil packs often, where you can find those now. Those, I don't even know what they are. They're like a cloth type of thing. Small or big ones that you put across your abdomen.
Yeah.
Put castor oil on it, sleep in them. So trendy right now. So let's kind of dig into some of this. I'm going to just some things that I pulled up. So let me see. Oh, this is a good one. I think before I thought castor oil was trendy, I had heard of pregnant women, I think, drinking castor oil, thinking that it would induce labor.
Yes.
That happen? Is that a true thing?
Okay. That's a true thing.
Okay.
But it didn't really work that well. Yeah. No, it doesn't seem to induce labor. I don't know if in some people, it's really hard because you can go into labor any minute when you're near term. And so how do you know if that induced labor or not, or if you just went into labor naturally? You can't know. And I don't know of any studies on it. Yeah, but I've heard of that too.
Okay. Another thing that it says that you can do is take it for constipation. It works like a laxative. Ooh, I really don't know if I would want to drink it, but it says it can be used externally as a castor oil pack.
As a castor oil pack, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could drink it. You could take some. I've never tasted it, but
it's so thick.
It's so thick. Yeah.
I do use it on my skin quite a bit, but it does say, okay, skin conditions. Castor oil can be applied directly to the skin, kind of like you talked, to help soothe skin issues like sunburns, bug bites, and allergic rashes.
Yeah. So think about it as an anti-inflammatory, and all those are inflammatory type things. So it's going to relieve the inflammation from those.
Yeah. And I wonder too, it's such a thick oil that in my mind, it's like, does a sunburn need to breathe? Will the castor oil suffocate a sunburn, or how does that work?
No, it doesn't. It's not suffocating. It just relieves. Sunburn is burn, and the burn is inflammation. It causes inflammation. And then the oil relieves the inflammatory part of it. You still have to heal your skin and all that from the burn, but it just relieves the inflammation.
Okay. Joint pain. So, and we talked a little bit about this, but castor oil packs can be applied to painful joints to help reduce inflammation and swelling.
And that actually works. That is useful.
I need to get some packs. I mean, I use castor oil directly on my skin. I have done the things where I'm someone who struggles a little bit with some gut issues. And so I've done like castor oil in my belly button or castor oil just on my abdomen. And I've heard of people who've gone a little crazy and had serious side effects, like spent the rest of the day in the bathroom after using too much castor oil. So I think a little is good to start with. Don't go crazy, probably. But this is an interesting one. Oh, no, well, I guess actually we talked about this. Castor oil can be applied to the eyelids to help improve symptoms of dry eye disease.
Oh, yeah, dry eye as well. I mentioned blepharitis, but also, dry eye. that's a thing. So, and that's really interesting because when you fix the inflammation in the eyelid, you have two things that cover your eyes. This is like miraculous. If you don't believe in God, you will after you understand how the eyeball works. It's just like amazing. So, if you think about it, you have this the cornea of your eye is exposed to the air all the time, and there's like a dust coming in and all of that, and it's got to be cleaned out. But water, there's a film of water coming from your tears, but water can dry out quickly, and then all the salts will crystallize, and you won't be able to see very well. So your eyelids make oil, and the oil covers over the top of the water. So you have your cornea, and then you have water over that, and then you have oil over that to prevent the water from drying out, so that you have this perfectly clear lens for the light to go through. Isn't that amazing?
That is
So,
amazing. So how
so
does
then
the oil get dry? What's happening to make the dry eyes?
the dry eyes, either your eyelids aren't making the oil, and the water's drying off quickly, and then you have all this dry eye problem, or the other possibility is you're not making enough tears.
Mhm.
So some people are putting drops in their eyes all day because they're not making enough tears, and that's often due to inflammation as well. And
Mhm.
so you can do both of those. Castor oil can take care of either one of those.
Okay. Okay. All right. Castor oil packs can be used applied to the abdomen over the liver. So does that help maybe for detoxing the liver?
I don't know if there's
Okay.
inflammation in the liver for some reason or whatever, but I don't know what it would do to the liver.
Okay. Some precautions I'm just going to mention. Castor oil can cause the side effects like abdominal cramping, diarrhea, and nausea, which we did kind of talk about. Um, it can trigger allergic reactions when used topically, it says.
Yeah, I've never seen that happen, but you can be allergic to anything.
Yeah, agreed. And
Yeah.
so again, talk to your healthcare provider about these things, which they're probably not going to know anything about it, but you can still ask.
So
Uh,
true.
I mean, that isn't a it's just that they're not studying that. If it's a
Right.
medical provider, they're just
Yeah,
not studying
we never learned that in medical school. I mean, you think about like on TV, you see these ads for whatever foods or whatever, and they say, talk to your doctor about your nutrition. And we never learn nutrition. What the heck? Why do you want to talk to somebody who's completely ignorant? Like we never had any education in nutrition. We had an education in drugs, period. So talk to your doctor about drugs, and talk to a nutritionist about nutrition.
I just had a call the other day with a lady who was a nurse, and she was getting I helped some customers to do some outside coaching with their nutrition. And she said, I'm so frustrated that I never learned about nutrition in nursing school. She was so upset about it. And so she's taking this second half of her life to really dig into that, to get some coaching, to understand that kind of thing. And I'm like, good for you. That is awesome that you've decided to do that because she wants to still help other people too. So pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna go through some of the questions I think that have come in here already. I'm gonna start with some specific to castor oil. So let me see. Beverly said, when I was a child, it was frequently given to kids for constipation. It's really hard to ingest, but it works. I'm now 82.
Huh. Yeah, yeah, for constipation.
All right, so let me see. Um, Anonymous said, I did use it for the third child. I went into labor, but labor slowed down when I got to the hospital. She took 25 hours. She was stuck. Oh
Oh,
boy.
oh, bummer.
Yeah. Teresa said, I've used it to get rid of small skin tags and scar tissues from surgery. It works. Awesome.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, scar tissue. We didn't talk about that. You can put it on scars, and the scars that are made up of keratin will make more collagen, and the scars will shrink down and go away.
So after I had knee surgery for the third time, I used a lot of castor oil and vitamin E, and I rotated those two. Can't remember why, but I think it helped. Vitamin E does stuff with the skin as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a antioxidant.
Okay, well, it seemed to work. Isn't it funny how you learn something and then you forget it when you stop? Okay, not Dr. Saunders. He doesn't forget anything. I don't. His brain is amazing. Okay, Rita says I use castor oil for a rash. Didn't help much. I guess I could try it for something else. What is a castor oil pack? You know what? I should look for one online. I'll look for one online and show you a picture.
Yeah, it's really simple. You get just like a gauze, just a regular little 4x4 cotton gauze, and you soak it with castor oil and you put it on there. And then I use paper tape, and you just put paper tape over the top of it and leave it overnight. And that's all. If you want a larger area, you use two gauze and put more tape over it. And that keeps it from getting all over the place. You can rub it into your skin and just leave it. I often do that, like Leslie was talking about. Just I put it on my face, um, and just to make the skin so it's not dry, and moisturize.
I'm just see if I can show you this. Let's see. Try to share my screen. I got a couple screens going on here, so who knows what it's going to show you. Yeah, but it's not gonna. Just kidding. I guess I can't do that today. So how do I exit that out? Well, maybe I can show you. No, I can't. All right. Actually, Dr. Saunders, are you able to see the next questions? I got to try to figure out how to get out of this.
Yeah. Okay. So David, hi David, says, I have diabetes type 2 and have experienced skin itching. Do you have any recommendations on treatments? So the thing about skin itching is find out why. Because if you're allergic to something, then you have to deal with the allergy. If you're itching because you have toxicity, you have to deal with the toxicity. If you have liver damage, you got to deal with the liver. If it's a kidney problem, you got to deal with the kidneys. So, because if you just relieve the itching, you haven't taken care of the problem, and you might have a problem that's going to get worse and worse and worse. So, especially if you have type 2 and itching, make sure that your liver is okay and your kidneys are okay first. So, just simple blood tests from your doctor should be fine. Or if you're getting like a rash with itching, especially if you can like scratch. If you scratch and a welt pops up, then you know there's some kind of allergy associated with it, because that's called dermatographia, where you can cause a welt from either like hitting it or scratching, or sometimes just going in and out of the shower. Changes in temperature can cause the rash to show up where you didn't have it before, and you're not allergic to the water. I've had people tell me, I'm allergic to chlorine. They put chlorine in the water, and I'm because I get a rash every time I go in the shower. And no, it's just because the hot water, the sudden change in temperature, or the hot water beating on your skin, is causing the release of histamine because you're hypersensitive, because you're allergic to pollens in the air or something you're eating. So it's a different reason. It's not from the water in the shower.
Yes. Okay. I wonder, could castor oil help with yeast on the skin?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I don't know if it affects the growth of yeast.
Okay. Let's see. Message here. Susan said I purchased castor oil to try on my eyelids for dry eyes, and Lisa said it's wonderful. I used it for a possible endometrial polyp, and on my next sonogram, it was all clear. Ovarian cysts too.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
I think it does affect the hormone estrogen progesterone balance, which could affect those things. That is really interesting. I've never used it for that though.
Yeah. Let's see. Bertha said castor oil is used as a laxative. I have taken it. And Lori said, I've used the pad on my stomach to help with movement in my GI tract and have had amazing results. And yes, I've used it in my belly button too. Sherry says, Barbara O'Neill says to use a panty liner, but put castor oil on the liner. Do not remove the plastic back. And you can wrap the panty liner around or flat tape down with fabric tape, no mess. That's a good idea.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Susan says recommendations to improve ATP production. Thank you.
Okay. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. That's the energy of your body. That's all the cells use it. Your nerve cells, your brain cells, your muscle cells, everything uses ATP, and that's how things get done in your body. So we think we have like carbohydrates and fat and protein as energy sources, but they all have to be converted to ATP before they're even useful. In fact, they would be very toxic if you have them and can't convert it to ATP. So, what is ATP, and where does it come from? Well, it comes from something called mitochondria. Mitochondria are like little teeny bacteria, and if you look at a cell, and let's say the cell is this big, the mitochondria is this big. You can have thousands of mitochondria in one cell. Cells can have anywhere from one mitochondria to hundreds to, in some cases, like heart cells can have thousands. Heart cells, like a third of a heart cell is just packed with mitochondria. Then this is the muscle cells that are beating your heart, and they're packed with these little bacteria that convert fat, carbohydrates, and proteins into ATP. So the question from Susan here is, how do I get more ATP? And the best way to look at that is to increase your number of mitochondria. How do you do that? Well, there's a whole bunch of people who put out supplements, then ATP supplements, where you get ADP, which is the precursor for ATP. And I have people spending, like $300 or $400 a week getting an intravenous injection of adenosine, ADP. But that's not necessary. Really, what you need is mitochondrial production. And the way this works best is fasting. When you fast, you get autophagy, which means you're eating yourself, but you also get the mitochondria. They come together. They fuse together, the mitochondria, and the bad ones are taken out, and the good ones are enlarged, and they make more ATP, and they become more efficient. So you get efficiency when you're fasting. And that's why fasting is really important. And then when you're not fasting, you still have that efficiency. So I've taken up fasting 3 days a month. So I do 3 days in a row, once a month, no food, no water. I actually do drink water. It's generally no food, no water, but I still do my 5K runs. And so, I'm not going to be severely dehydrated. So I drink a little bit of water. I drink a cup when I'm thirsty. So you can have water during, but this 3 days of eating nothing allows your body to start making the more ATP more efficiently. And so just adding in more carbohydrates, fats, and proteins won't do it. Adding in more ADP won't do it. Adding in NAD plus won't do it. All of these things that people are paying tons of money to get, they don't make your body more efficient at converting the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins into ATP. So that one thing, the best thing you can do is fasting. So anytime your stomach is empty, you're fasting. So if you stop eating at 6 o'clock at night, you don't eat till 8 o'clock in the morning, then you're a 14-hour fasting. And if you do 2 days of fasting, then you start getting autophagy. That's where you start seeing the real benefits. So 3 days is kind of the peak of benefit to fasting ratio. So you get more benefit by going on. You could go, I've done 7 days, 14 days, but the 3 days is adequate to make this happen. So does it work? Well, I'll give you an example because I only know me, right? So I have to use some example that I have. I went to a longevity conference in Las Vegas a few weeks ago and did my cardiometabolic age. Cardio means heart. Metabolic is the metabolism, is how well you're converting the energy from carbohydrates, fats, and proteins into ATP. And so while they have these machines and they do this and they do blood and they do all this, they look at your numbers. And my cardiometabolic age is 22 and a half. Okay, I'm 61. I got to tell you, fasting makes a difference. And all of those other things, I've had people who are really good athletes, and they're out there running and sweating and working out at the gym and all of that stuff. And their cardiometabolic age when they're 60 is 50. And they're like, yeah, I'm 10 years younger. But fasting is so much better than just exercising. Now, you got to exercise. I'm not saying sit around on the couch, but still, if you want, the question from Susan was, how do I make more ATP? And my answer is fast.
It's a hard thing to start, but once you start, it's so good. Actually, I just realized my microphone was not by me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect. All right, I want to dig into some more questions here. Anonymous said, have you heard of apple drops? There are several natural ingredients. Does it work differently for each person?
I don't know if it works, and I don't know what apple drops are, so I couldn't address that.
Okay.
I could look it up.
I don't know what they are either. Are there any medications that prevent getting restorative sleep?
Prevent restorative sleep? Yes. Staying up late, irregular sleep, and eating before a meal. Eating before sleeping.
That will affect it too. If you're eating before a meal, it might be too much.
I hate to eat on an empty stomach. So eating, irregular sleep, and what was the other thing? Going to bed late. Yeah, those are the three things that prevent restorative sleep.
Okay. All right. Okay, this question is from Rita. It says, have you heard of GPL peptide and semaglutide? I get hooked onto these 10-minute videos. What to believe? They all want at least $20 to $50 a bottle. What to do? Cannot afford most. They want you to buy 6 bottles or more of this. This is Tom Harris. Okay, I also want to mention there's the prescription, and then there are a lot of other natural GLP-1 things out on the market right now also. So I know a lot of different companies are selling their products that way too. What are your thoughts on all of those?
Okay. What they're selling you for $20 to $50 a bottle is something that is supposed to be like their amino acids and proteins in some cases, and some carbohydrates that are supposed to tell your body to release these GLP-1 and they're something like semaglutide. If you don't inject semaglutide, it's useless. If you take a pill, forget it. It's not going to do anything at all. Because it's a peptide that gets broken down in the stomach, so it doesn't get into your body in significant amounts. To get it in, you need an injection. All of the oral things are supposed to help you release these glucagon-like polypeptides, and these peptides. Okay, so let's talk about peptide hormones. This is kind of a new thing. And because it's new, everybody's like, wow, these are awesome. This is really cool. Look at all this stuff. When I was in medical school, we were told that human growth hormone, which is a peptide hormone, was only for children growing up. And as soon as you reach full stature, you don't need it anymore. It's like useless and you don't make it anymore. And it's all. And then somebody found out that you release at like 10 p.m. If you're asleep, you release like a 10 times amount of human growth hormone. Like your pituitary gland just pumps out a ton of it. And they're like, what does it do? And they found out that it was, oh my gosh, what does it do? It repairs everything. It fixes your joints. It fixes your muscles, all the damage that was done, your bones. It makes your bones strong. It makes your muscles strong. It's so good that people started going, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I want injections of that. Well, the problem is if you are catabolic, if you're in during the day when you have high cortisol and you inject this stuff, then it can cause cancer and it doesn't help you. It doesn't work. You need that peptide at that moment for that second, and that's it. It's got to go away. And that's the same thing with insulin. Insulin is a peptide hormone. And people who have high levels of insulin for long periods of time, they die of a whole bunch of diseases, all kinds of things, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, insulin resistance. They get obesity because that peptide hormone is too high. Well, guess what semaglutide does? It causes you to have more insulin. Well, why do you want that? Well, because it'll lower your blood sugar temporarily while you're getting more insulin resistant and causing more of those other problems. So you're going to end up, so 5 or 10 years from now, after they've made all their money and everybody's like paid thousands and thousands of dollars and they're billionaires, and then they can no longer patent it. They'll say, well, it's actually not that good. It doesn't really work. And it causes all these problems. So I wouldn't recommend it. Think about it. Go back and think about human growth hormone. They're not injecting that anymore. Think about the fen-phen, how awesome that was. And everybody wanted to be on fen-phen. And then they're like, oh, well, actually, it's not really a good idea. That's what's going to happen with this semaglutide and all this stuff. So you guys just leave it alone. It's a fad that's going to go away because it does more harm than good.
The body's a lot more intelligent sometimes than I think we give it credit for.
Exactly.
We can just do the things, let it do its thing and not hinder its work that it's doing. It seems to be pretty amazing what it can do. Okay.
So let me go to the next level. So what if you say, gosh, I want some of those peptide hormones because this is what they do. And they do amazing things. Human growth hormone really does repair your body. Ghrelin really does fix your brain and your intestines. These are real good things. They're amazing. But you need them when you need them. So how do you get them? And that's the key. So here's what you do. Fast. When you're fasting, everything gets fixed. You make the ghrelin, you fix everything. And then you eat, and then you have space between meals where you don't eat, and you get an empty stomach between each meal, and then you periodically have long periods of time when you fast. That will give you these peptide hormones at exactly the minute you need them. You go to bed between 9:30 and 10 o'clock every night. You get up around 6 o'clock every morning, 5:30 to 6 every morning. And you do this on a regular basis. You don't eat at night. Stop eating after 6. And you will get these peptide hormones in high amounts, and it will do all that it's supposed to do without doing any damage. That's the way to do it.
Love it. Okay, awesome. We do have some more questions about castor oil, so I'm going to ask a few of these. First of all, Anonymous said a friend had suggested it for salve on a rash. Rose said, my mom used to give it to us sometimes. Is it good for older people? And what are the benefits? I think we went through that part, but any restrictions on an older person?
No. Anybody can use it. It's the ricolayan is it's a great anti-inflammatory for any human being.
All right. And also, Anonymous said, I thought about castor oil for colds. I sometimes use oregano and honey for colds. How
Yeah.
might you use castor oil?
Well, it's often used for colds. When I was a kid, my mom put it on. She would make a castor oil pack and put it on my chest when I had a cold. I remember that.
Okay.
But I don't remember if I got better. Well, of course I got better. Here I am, right? It worked.
At some point, it could have been a couple years later, but you did recover from it.
Yeah,
Okay. Beverly says, on the other hand, castor oil is a well-known purgative.
yeah, yeah. And that's we talked about that. You can actually. Oh, yeah. Some people will throw up with it. Yes.
Ooh, the thought of it kind of makes me want to throw up, so I probably would. All
Yeah.
right. John says, when fasting, do you still take your supplements?
Oh, good question. No, no, I don't take any supplements while I'm fasting.
Dr. Saunders is good at reminding us that supplements are kind of like food. And mostly all of our supplements are like food or plants or
Yeah.
that type of thing. So think about it that way and that'll help you. So now let's just go ahead and ask the question, what about medications?
Um, it depends on the medication. For example, if you don't have a thyroid gland, you need to take thyroid so you stay on your thyroid. But you have to be really careful if you're on anything for blood pressure or blood sugar, because your blood pressure will drop too low while you're fasting because it'll put everything back to normal. And then the medication's going to just push your blood pressure down too low. And so the medication becomes toxic at that point. And the same thing with blood sugar. If you're type 2, for example, or type 2 especially, yeah, then the medication can drop your blood sugar too low when you're fasting. And then if you're type 1, you should really be very careful and talk with your whoever's providing your insulin. But you can fast. You just have to be really careful about not taking insulin. And if you have a continuous glucose monitor, that makes it pretty easy to fast.
Okay, so follow up to a previous question. Beverly had said, a person had asked if there were medications that interfere with sleep.
Oh, yeah, tons of them. Yeah, yeah. All kinds of blood pressure medications interfere with sleep. The Let me think. Any of the stimulants interfere with sleep. Caffeine interferes with sleep, and it doesn't have to be like drinking coffee at night or something. People can have 1 cup in the morning, and it can mess up their sleep at night because it suppresses something called adenosine, which is very important for sleep. Let's see what other medications. Yeah, there's a lot of them. And so if you're taking a medication and you're not sleeping well, look it up because the medication just might be the reason you're not sleeping.
Yeah. Okay. Lisa said, is it safe to take supplements with vitamin A and E?
Supplements. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Vitamin A and E are both fat soluble vitamins, and all of the other supplements. I can't think of any herbs or vitamins that you couldn't take with vitamin A and E. Think of it this way: if you're eating, I don't know, taking cod liver oil, for example, you get vitamin D, vitamin A in pretty high amounts, and essential fatty acids, omega-3 oil. No, there's nothing that you should avoid if you're taking A and E.
Anonymous said, Fen did help me lose over 60 pounds. Could Fen have caused many of my ailments now?
Well, you're anonymous, and I don't know what your ailments are. so, um, uh, but it would have been years ago that you took the fen, and it's a stimulant. It affects the brain, and it does affect the hypothalamus, and that's where a lot of the problems came in. Is it didn't allow you to reset your fat thermostat, and so there was no end to that. So whenever you went off the fen, there was no end to gaining weight. You would just keep going up. So a lot of people did because the hypothalamus no longer had a shut off and going, okay, I'm done, don't eat anymore. But so I don't know what your ailments are, but if you're gaining weight, yeah, that's a possibility.
Mm, okay. Susan said, what are your thoughts on DMSO? Thank you.
I was just thinking about that. Dimethyl sulfoxide is a solvent that is very well absorbed through the skin. In fact, it is so well absorbed through the skin that whatever you mix with it is going to be absorbed into your body. So if you mix it with castor oil, then the DMSO will allow the castor oil to just suck right into your lymph system and go right into your body. And so you'll get that castor oil into your body pretty quickly if you use DMSO. All by itself, DMSO has been used for all kinds of things. I have a Dupuytren's contracture on my hand, and the DMSO helps to get rid of scar tissue and allow collagen to be produced, and the normal collagen. Scar tissue is keratin, and keratin shrinks over time, and that's why you get scars that shrink because the scar tissue is keratin. And then that it's replaced with collagen. With the DMSO provides disulfide bonds for collagen to come in and repair things. So, yeah, DMSO is wonderful. When it was first found in Georgia by a paper mill, the hunters found that the deer that were around the paper mill were just amazing. Their hides were awesome hides. They could shear the hides. You know how you've heard of split leather, where you take a hide and you split split the whole thing down to this real thin layers. And it was so good, this hide. And so someone wanted to find out why just in this area the deer had such good hide. And it was because the DMSO that was coming out of the paper mill was getting into the streams, and then the deer are drinking from the streams, and they're getting this really good hide. So dimethyl sulfoxide, yeah, it's wonderful.
Okay. Rita said, I think this is concerning getting good sleep. Rita's taking metformin and 3 high blood pressure meds, and so that's what the concern was, I think.
Oh yeah, those can affect sleep, absolutely, possibly. So yeah, you might want to do something else. We have something called the diabetes solution kit that can allow you to get off the medications.
bartonwebinar.com. You'll find it there. What do you drink during long fasts? Julia asked.
Long fasts? Okay. So if I do personally, when I've done like a 2-week fast, I drink broth, and I make my own bone broth. It's really easy to do, but you can buy it, if you want. It's not a problem. I just don't trust. I don't know what they're putting in it when I buy it. But when I make it, I know exactly what's in it. I buy an organic chicken. I put it in a pot. I boil it overnight, and then I take all the meat off and put the bones back in the pot. Boil it for another day, and so it's a really rich broth. And then I chop in celery and onions and garlic, and it's all fresh. And then I salt and pepper it. Sometimes I'll spice it with something like turmeric. Or sometimes I'll use oregano. Just depends on taste, just to make it good. And then I'll do nothing but drink that for 2 weeks. So that's a good way. But if it's 1 week, I usually just do water. 3 days, 1 week, just water.
Okay. Is DMSO a painkiller?
It's not that it is a painkiller. It's that it allows tissue to be repaired, so that you don't have scar tissue stretching, so that the inflammation goes away and it no longer hurts. So in a sense, yes, people who use it for arthritis, for example, they start repairing their joints, and then the joint no longer hurts, and they go, oh, DMSO is a great painkiller. Well, no, it just helped you repair your joint, so it's not inflamed anymore. That's all.
Tom said, what do you think of a carnivore diet for anyone? And how about for diabetics?
Carnivore diet is okay. It's a pretty hard long-term diet to do. You have to be kind of careful, get enough vitamin C. You might have to take extra of that. Some people need fiber in their diet. I don't think it's the right diet for everyone, but I've been watching these YouTubers that do it, and they're totally into it, and they say it works wonderful, and they have great poops, and everything works okay. So it's fine for some people.
Okay, that's it for today. Thank you, Dr. Saunders, so much. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Well, actually, you let me know if you're still going to do the webinar next week. You're traveling.
Oh, that's right. I'm going to be at the Barton Publishing retreat, and you're not going to be there.
Nope, I will not be there. So let me know how we're going to do that. I bet
Okay.
you'll still do it, but
I'll let you know.
yeah. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you all. Thank you, Dr. Saunders.
Bye.
And you guys can find more information at bartonwebinar.com. Use code webinar25. That's one word. You'll save 25%. And I promise next time we'll have a different screen, so it's not so blurry. So thanks for joining us today and asking all these wonderful questions. We